Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Rise Factor. Today's special guest is Sophie Kennedy, joining me from Buxton, Victoria. She is a BDM. Sophie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Sarah.
It was great to see you a few months ago, and oh my gosh, that has flown to think we caught up, nearly 3 months ago now. But Sophie, I always like to kick it off for those that may not know you, because we've got BDMs joining us from all over Australia and New Zealand. Who is Sophie?
I'm nearing 40, which is scary. I'm 37. I am a mum of a 6.5-year-old, COVID mum.
Mhm.
And for a long time, it was just her and I. I've now got an incredible supportive partner here in Geelong. We've been together for a few years. I have no particular hobbies. I dabble in everything. I feel like I live and breathe work sometimes. So I just try and dabble in everything where I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really being a mum and working and family orientated. I'm really close with my parents and grew up in the country, and I think that helps me resonate with a lot of other regional families here in Geelong, being country
Mm.
girl. So yeah.
I love that. And how have you found the market at the moment in Geelong?
It's good. We have a huge amount of interstate buyers,
Mm.
and a lot of buyers agents interstate that are, from what I can tell, getting a feel for the market but don't understand it fully. Not
Mm.
everyone does. That aren't actually getting their eyes on the property, so they're relying on property managers to be their eyes and ears on the ground,
Yep.
which is a bit of a frustration sometimes. But obviously, you partner with the right people, and it works really well.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's a really balanced market down here. We've got the same sort of supply as we do demand. We've dropped from 2.5% vacancy to 2.1%, so it's picking up. I can't imagine that's going to shift much more.
Mm.
But it is a vast difference from COVID when we're at like 0.7%.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great to know. So, Geelong is how far away from CBD Melbourne?
Oh, 45 minutes to an hour.
45, yeah, just for the listeners
Yeah.
so they can get a grasp. It's a beautiful little spot. I was in Geelong, I think it was about 3 weeks ago now. I love it there. And there's what I noticed, Sophie, when I was in Geelong as well, there's actually quite a lot of new development happening in like the main area too, which I think is going to be really nice just to give it a bit of a facelift too, which I think is nice that they're, making
Yeah.
it a bit more modernized now down there, which I love to see.
If it's used.
Yeah. So, Sophie, you had a celebration recently, which I think deserves a big congratulations, and that is you winning an award. So, do you want to tell everyone about the award that you've won this year?
Yes, I won BDM of the Year across the Buxton Group
Amazing.
for the fourth consecutive year.
So great. 4 years in a row. Like, that is just truly, truly phenomenal. And
Yep.
I'm sure now people are going to be like, okay, how? Right? So, how I think we need to start, and looking back. So, how long have you been in real estate or property management now, Sophie?
20 years from when I started on reception and doing, holiday property management.
Mhm.
I've been in the industry now I'm going into my 21st year. So a
Wow.
really long time. I feel like a veteran.
Yeah, that's just phenomenal. Like, so, it's very rare now that we get people that have been in real estate for that long. So that I think that's truly incredible. And was real estate always something that you wanted to do?
No, not at all. I was in sort of hospitality tourism. So one of my first jobs out of school was working at a vineyard. And I was sort of on the admin where we had accommodation on the vineyard, and probably where I got my love of wine from, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was never really ever on my radar. I used to like take bookings and stuff at guest houses and all that kind of thing. And then I moved to Geelong, and as any 17 turning 18-year-old, applied for every single job possible, and all administration.
Mm.
And I got an interview for an agency down along the Great Ocean Road, as a receptionist. And yeah, the rest is history. That was yeah, 2005.
Amazing. Amazing.
Mm.
And so, how long have you been a BDM now?
Oh, it'll be over 10 years now. A sole BDM, that's a great question. A sole BDM, I think, since around 2018. But
Mhm.
prior to that, I used to manage teams and do business development. I
Yep.
probably fell into the business development channel in around 2015, 2014, 15.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
that's a long time. So, so BDM wasn't always something that was necessarily on your radar to do them.
No, I got thrown in the deep end big time.
And was that because
Um,
they saw that the potential for you to grow the business or because of relationships you have with your clients? Like, what was it?
Absolutely not. That would have been grasping at straws, throw me in the deep end. Someone needed to do it, and I was
Okay.
there.
Yep.
I found it very daunting when I first started, but because I didn't really have a choice and I really loved and respected who I worked for at the time, I would have done anything for them.
Mm.
So I fell into it and I really enjoyed it. And that soon became the thing that outshone everything else I was doing. Like I
Mm.
used to think wearing the department manager hat was really important and, managing a portfolio was really important. And then as I developed my skills into business development, I realized that that's what got me up out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And everything else was really difficult. Managing a portfolio was really difficult. Managing a team was even more difficult. And I was very young at the time. Like I would have been, well, it was 20 years ago. So I would have been mid 20s, having a crash course into wearing three different hats at once.
Mm.
So it was a lot. But yeah, no, never on the radar, thrown in the deep end. I would have been convenience for my employer at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, did some pretty incredible things there, which was great.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So obviously winning a BDM of the year 4 years in a row, I'm sure is your biggest wins in itself. But what are some other big wins along the way?
Um, One of my biggest wins that where I find, I get the warm and fuzzies from, when I joined Buxton, they never had this role.
Mm.
So I sat down with the big boss, which was intimidating, and sort of had this conversation. I'd just come out of mat leave. I think I was doing 2 days a week because then we had the COVID lockdown, and finding business development again was a bit tricky. It was a property management only office. I sat down with Ben and he's like, we don't have anyone in this role. A lot of the time we find that people will be reactive rather than proactive in this role. What do you think you can bring? And I was hungry at that point. Like I wanted to get busy again. I wanted to be in an office around adults again.
Mm.
So I just was pretty candid and honest with him. And it took probably 6 months of back and forth to get the role. And that wasn't because there wasn't a role for me to have. It was because there's so many moving parts across so many offices.
Mm.
And then when I came in, I left to my own devices. I created a role, I created systems, and being able to see that grow and be awarded for it, that was my biggest win. And now focusing on the development of that team, what that looks like, and buggering up and then figuring it out again and rewriting the script. I'm doing all of that at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a really rewarding part of it.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some things that you have implemented in the BDM role that has assisted you in your success over the last 4 years, especially?
An absolute thirst for follow up.
Mm-hmm.
So I can consistently beat myself up if I don't follow up. And that's been a huge focus of mine. But then finding support roles that have helped me as well. So I begged and begged and begged for a really close girlfriend to come on board with me a couple of years ago. Managed to get her across the line, and we worked hand in hand together for a couple of years, and her support was incredible. So finding her, and then the idea was to get a VA on to then help us with more admin. She ended up actually being promoted within the company, which was amazing to see. But then that sort of took me back to square one, and then I had to find, the next perfect piece of the puzzle, which is my current assistant Kiki, and she's phenomenal.
Mm.
But then she's stepping on maternity leave. She's got a little girl on the way. So she's stepping on maternity leave. So then it's rewriting that script again. But I think finding the right support people in certain roles and not being afraid to rejig it. So, I'm looking for an assistant at the moment, and we're flipping the script on it. It's not going to be someone that will necessarily fall into being a BDM assistant, but an EA. And then maybe look at recruiting more experienced BDM so that EA can help manage us with the VA.
Yeah.
And, we have this, hopefully well-oiled little network across our bigger network.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that. And I think it's important because the role and our, industry changes, as well as the support that we need will also need to be able to either adapt or change that. So I think that's a really good approach that you have, Sophie. So one of the main things then that you do, because when we look at the BDM role in itself, there's so many variations in what different BDMs do. Like some of them are just listing, some of them are listing and leasing, some of them are listing, leasing, and also doing open homes and having to do condition reports. So we'd love to just, pull apart more your role to see like what you do, and then how your support person helps you with driving that growth.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it goes without saying, I'm a massive believer in hybrid roles don't exist if you want to grow. So I believe that business development is a role in its own, leasing is a role in its own, property management is a role in its own. I know that lots of different offices work differently, and hats off to those people that can, but having been someone that wore multiple hats while enjoying BDM, and BDM being, the fire in my belly, I'm a big believer in that BDM needs to be taken seriously on its own. Particularly my market might be very different elsewhere. So my role is obviously to appraise a property, to do my data management, list a property, go through legislative information, help with a lot of renovations and repairs prior to going to market, or while it's on market before a tenant gets in. We market the property, so we get it live to market, and then we do a handover with the team.
Yeah.
So I don't do any leasing. I don't do any opens. I am really good at cutting the umbilical cord, but I will always still be there on the phone and speak with clients. But I really try and have the team nurture that from the get-go. I don't need to be loved for 3 years and keep myself involved in a relationship. That's for the team to grow and develop. And that's what's really exciting about seeing, more junior staff learn to develop those relationships rather than me trying to hold on to it and control it.
Yeah.
I love, a lot of people might see it as handballing, but I don't see that at all. I see it as skill developing. And if I ever make a mistake or I need to come into it, I'm never afraid to pick up that phone or work alongside my team, depending on how they want it. If they want me to pick up the phone and fix something or work through something, I will. If they want me to guide them so that they can learn and they can manage it, then I'll do that as well. So again, it's all about being fluid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really try and sever that tie when I know the team is more than capable of taking it on, so that I can focus on doing my dollar productive stuff, the stuff that fills my cup every day, rather than trying to spread myself too thin. So yeah.
I think I would love to have a open conversation about this, to air, because I believe the same thing that you just said, Sophie, which is that hybrid roles don't exist. Because I remember when I started as a BDM, I was doing the BDM, but I was also involved in the leasing. Involved in the leasing meaning I was having to have a look over the applications, shortlist them, then discuss the application with the owner, call the tenant, say they were approved. The documentation side I didn't have to do. Then once the property had been leased, call the owner, say it was leased, and then hand over. And I just look at just that process in itself and how many hours I lost because I was doing that. And I think now when we look at a BDM role, and also how much money a director would pay a BDM versus how much money they would have to pay for more of a junior team member, or a VA that can do a lot of those activities. I really think you have to look at the ROI on the activities that a BDM is responsible for, because the ROI for a BDM is going to be much more if they are doing those dollar productive activities, like what you said, which is essentially making sure that you've got appraisals, making sure you're getting deals done, and making sure you're nurturing your pipeline and building up your ecosystem, which is what a director would be paying a BDM for. And that's just my belief. I believe that a
Yeah,
BDM should be the one out there driving business and finding opportunities, coming up with new ideas, fine tuning, like what you've said, Sophie, because it is an advanced role. A BDM, and I think the skills now that BDMs need to have is much more advanced than what you would require from someone that is just looking after the leasing component, right?
100%.
Completely different skill set. I love the other thing. I would assume that your handover process would be pretty tight knit. Can you tell me or tell us about that handover process then when you are cutting the umbilical cord, like what you said?
Yep. So it is developing. It is always developing. And it sounds very primal actually, but it is a bit of a spreadsheet, and it goes through all of the key factors of that relationship. So the owner, obviously, I'm a little different. I work across 7 offices, so I have to be really clear on where it's allocated. Some offices have a leasing consultant, some don't. That's a juggling act in itself. So it goes through all of that. It goes through the range that I've quoted, the range that they've wanted, and the range that we've advertised. It goes through any special conditions in a sale contract if it's a purchaser. It goes through whether we've got a temporary connection, which we organise because all these works need to be done before a tenant moves in now or renter moves in. It goes through any conversations we've had around rent decreases throughout the campaign, compliance, special conditions in the lease, and then a snapshot of who that owner is, what they're looking for, their future plans with the property if we know it, which we should know it. And then that differs. So that's a new let, so a new property. That differs from something that we might be retaining through a sale within the office. That's a different handover for takeover managements. So every label of a new property has a different handover. And if there's something that perhaps the team's not picking up and the team's missing in property management or leasing, then we add that into the handover to make sure there is a tick box for everyone to go through.
Right.
So it's just a nice reference point for us as well. I'm not going to remember doing 400 handovers in a year. So, if they've got a question about a property, I can go to that handover. And again, I'm human, I miss things. So I'll be like, no, I've buggered that up. Let me call the owner. Sorry, here's that document. But it's pretty tight. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's something. I think when I know that some BDMs have that hesitation where they're like, oh, that you've built that trust, and then there's like, oh, but then we have to hand over. But I think it's also trusting your team, right? Like if you're as a BDM, we're going out and we are representing the property management team. So you need to have trust in the team. And I think if there's that hesitation, then perhaps you're not fully trusting the team. That's just my thing.
I feel like there's two avenues here. One is BDMs really struggle to let go. And it might not even be about the trusting the team, but it's a really positive relationship. BDM, you have the best of most of it, right? Yeah. So you've got a really positive relationship, and then for me, I get them live to market, and I've prepped them for that process. But the other thing is, I think, and what I'm noticing a bit, chatting to lots of different BDMs across Australia. I've just done a workshop recently with some of the top performers in Australia, which was the most eye-opening, incredible thing I've ever done. I also was almost in tears many times with imposter syndrome. But understanding their understanding of how business operates and what is dollar productive, like we spoke about before, a lot of BDMs don't understand that. They don't understand, and look, it might be because there's not an opportunity to buy into the business, or they don't want to understand the business and the goings on about income, or, they are just really enjoying being a BDM. But I think there needs to be a basic understanding of how an office can be profitable, how an office operates, to make that really clear, and so people can really hone in on when that handover needs to happen,
And why
to
it needs to happen.
focus, yeah, and why it needs to happen. And I get that not everybody will understand that. Having sat down with this incredible group of people, that was the common theme, that everybody had a really good understanding of how the business operates. And given, they were all pretty much business owners, but they really wanted to understand that, because we're money driven, right? When we're in a commission based role.
Sure.
So having a good understanding of how, a business makes money, how it needs to operate, what level you need to get to reach the next staff member to help you out with odds and ends. I just feel like that's critical.
I think now what I teach is a BDM role is a business within a business. And when you look at that, and I think one of the reasons why I was so successful is because I knew that not only the more properties I listed was good for the business, but the more properties I brought on made me more money to be able to get the things that I wanted to in life, right? So, and I knew my numbers. I knew how many appraisals I need to do to get the listings that I did. I knew how many people I needed to be talking to. So I think that there is a really big opportunity in this space for BDMs to look at the role differently, if you choose to look at it differently, because there's a big opportunity there. Because going back to what I said earlier, in the BDM driving growth for the business, there also needs to be that transparency, though, which directors, if you're listening, which I know that there are a few tuning in, to be able to understand the intricacies of how the property management division works, and the income that it needs to make for it to be profitable. There needs to be transparency from the top, right?
Oh, I just think that'd be so powerful for the teams.
100%.
So powerful. And
then they understand the numbers.
To me, applaud. I feel like even if people understood the cost of a seat, like it's such a basic calculation for a business owner to know, but it's so difficult for an employee to wrap their head around. Well, what do you mean cost of a seat? Like it's, you're paying for someone to manage a portfolio. This portfolio is worth X, Y, Z with your multipliers. That's not the crux of it. And look, I'm so guilty of this. I'm only just learning about, the intricacies of business, and what that means. And, putting targets in front of me that go, okay, well, if I want to grow my team, this is what I need to achieve. And they're scary targets. It's been really eye-opening over the last 4 years to come into a business that's probably a little more transparent with that. And then chatting to all these different BDMs in all different facets of their role, new, experienced, old school, new school, all that sort of stuff. It's been really awesome to see the dynamics of everything, and then figure out where I sit on that scale and where I want to get to next. So,
sure. And I think one of the things I used to be open about is, I think gone are the days where we I suppose there might be a fear around talking about salary and commissions, where I actually think it's a very healthy conversation to be able to have as a BDM. But knowing that, Sophie, someone with your experience and you've got the credibility to back your results, your structure is going to be very different to a BDM that's just coming out and has to essentially prove their worth and show that they are capable of developing or driving the results for a business. But unless we are having those conversations, well, then how do we know where we sit? Which is what you just said. It's like having those conversations. Okay, where are you at? How are you going? Have you got to where you're going, so that you know where you essentially want to go, or to be able to also help someone else on their journey that might want to buy a house, or looking at increasing their financial situation. And then there's this area as well that we need to look at, which is our money mindset, because we're talking to investors every day about how we can help them with their investment properties. And we don't usually go, okay, well, their investment property is worth, let's just say, $1 million, and we don't really put a price on that. But when we go, well, have we ever touched $1 million? Like, do we know what $1 million looks like? Like, how would we feel if $1 million just, appeared to us? And I think that there's also an area for BDMs to explore in how they feel about talking about money, because essentially that's what we're doing with investors. And
Yeah.
when we look at fees, which I'm really wanting to create a bit of a movement around fees and looking at more of like the investment costs for a landlord rather than, well, this is our fees. It's like we're not just charging someone, they're investing in us to look after and protect their biggest assets. But how do we feel about helping them make that money that they need on their investment property? Do you think that this could be a bit more of a space that we could explore and develop in as a BDM?
Oh, 100%. I've recently, I'm having a really tricky month this month. I'll call a spade a spade. So it is one of the slowest months I've had in a long time and on the tail end of a record month. And I'm having kittens. Like I'm starting to really stress out about this slow month. And then my other brain is going, just enjoy it. Like I've had 4 years of nonstop. I'm about to go on a holiday for the first time. And, so I'm stressing. But what I did the other day, I'm like, why am I struggling with these properties and why aren't I listing what I'd normally list in a month? And then I went through the last 1,600 properties and I saw the development of fees, and it went from, every property bar maybe 5% at 7.7. And then over the last 12 months, that's dropped. And now I'm finding that I'm getting pushback because the industry wants to drop it again. And again, business mindset, it's not profitable to list a property for our office or reasonable to expect our team to manage a property at that sort of fee. And I'm finding those conversations becoming more and more challenging because we're not getting in front of people enough. I can sell my value when I'm in front of someone. I can sell my value if someone wants to listen to every word I type, but they don't. They look at a fee and a fee only. And there are 10 other agencies in the area that will drop much lower than I will. And that's all they care about. And 9 times out of 10, they end up back on my desk because something's gone wrong. And how do you communicate that to a client without throwing someone under the bus? Because I'm not a believer in that. I try not to do that unless I'm quite friendly with the person and I can give them some really honest feedback about an agency, but that very rarely happens. So how do we create a conversation where we've got more value behind our fee? I think as an industry, we need to lift that level. Like, let's not be silly. We all know that. Like, if we all hold our fees, we all get better fees.
I think it's going back to what we're talking about though, Sophie, because like if there's BDMs who are dropping the fees, it's because their leaders are saying that they can drop their fees. The BDMs are just going to drop their fees if their leaders haven't advised them that, right? Unless they're not auditing their portfolios and they got no idea what their BDM,
which is also highly likely.
Probably, yeah. Like, there probably are some people doing that out there, but for the betterment of this, let's hope that more people are doing the right thing than not. But if they haven't had that transparency, if their directors haven't spoken about the cost of the seat or the goals of the business and why they are needing to make that much money, also how long it takes for a property to actually be profitable once it's bought on, because by the time they pay you, by the time they pay your comm, by the time the expenses come out for the marketing, by the time they've got to pay their property manager, like the property isn't profitable straight away. So I think the more conversations directors are having, leaders with their BDMs, the BDMs can understand that more. And also, I think like what I really loved at my last place of business as a BDM, we had a tiered system in terms of comms. So bottom line, we knew what we had to make per property, and it had nothing to do with the fees. It was per year, this is the revenue the property need to generate. That's your base comm. Then anything over that, we went into a different bracket. We had 4 tiers. So when we went into that, and the tiers range from $250 to $1,000. So when we went into that listing presentation or appraisal, damn sure we were going in and trying to get the $1,000 comp, right? And those those fees because we knew that overall it would help the property management division do more and be able to elevate the whole entire division of property management so that it was profitable, right? So that they could invest back in their team, so we could have more VAs, so we could have an EA. Like, how amazing. BDMs are probably listening to this going, oh my God, Sophie, I wish I had a EA, right? Or a VA.
Yeah.
But to understand that. And I think then you'll find the more conversations that they are having around the actual money making side, we're all going to be understanding more on why we need to earn what we earn. I did, interestingly enough, though, listen to a podcast actually yesterday by Ashley Goodchild, who's also a great voice in our industry, and I love that she actually spoke about the other side to this, so that there are some offices that are charging like 4% because it will be quicker for them to get to that 80 or 100. And once you get to that 80 or 100, I know this isn't your case, you've got bigger offices, but some startups, then it's much quicker to scale by then, and then you won't continue to charge 4%. Obviously the fees will go up. So it was actually interesting to hear the other side to potentially why some businesses will be charging 4%. But I think, Sophie, what I know in Victoria, though, even the other day, I actually messaged a director because I had 3 people send me a screenshot of some fees that were being charged in a very well-known area. And I knew that their director wouldn't be happy about seeing these fees that were going out. So I did the right thing and I just did the courtesy and letting you know that your fees are getting floated around in the industry,
Yeah.
because it wasn't an office that was trying to scale. It was a well-known office that had a lot of management. So, but I think it's the intention, like what is the intention for that, right?
Yeah.
But they won't know unless we have those conversations, which is essentially what you said.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So
And yeah, I feel like we're getting a lot of pressure. Like, I know for me, for instance, these BAs or, interstate buyers that are buying without getting their feet on the ground, everything is done over a transaction on email. So, justifying your worth in those circumstances is really difficult to do, and it's very time consuming. So when you want to talk about return on investment of you and you as a person and you as a BDM and your time and, being able to list your property, we need to be able to pick and choose what clients we
100%.
take on all that time with, especially in Victoria with all this compliance. Like, we did some training with Buxton the other day, and the idea that these new legislations are coming in November where a property has to be compliant and meet all minimum standards before it goes live to market, that entire onus falls on a BDM now. So, and that is, how much of that is not dollar productive? Most of it.
Yeah.
Most of it. And the idea that, you bring someone in to manage the compliance aspect is not feasible for all offices. It's something we're in discussions about at the moment, but it's not even feasible for us, and we're a large organization.
Yeah.
So, you have to find that balance. And like you said too, find that watermark. So you called it tiered. So I've always known it as a watermark. You need to know what a property needs to bring into your business so we can employ good staff, we can do good training, we can do all this sort of thing. Anything below that, it's just not justifiable. Anything above that, amazing, win, great for the office, profitable. So yeah, there's a massive balancing act at the moment, and I think we're all going to go through a bit of a shake-up when this new legislation comes in and find our feet.
I think as well, Sophie, something that you said earlier, which it's okay to have some off months, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I look at today, right? Like, we're doing this podcast today, but I don't have any deals coming through today, essentially, right? But I have sales calls today. So I know that the things that I'm doing today is going to help me tomorrow, or when we're not even having sales calls or having, in your BDMs, in appraisals, there's an opportunity to work on the business. So like what you said earlier, it could be refining or defining or going, okay, well, how can we navigate getting in front of more people and showing that value so it's not just email based. So I think it's okay to have some slower months if you're still working on the business. And on the back of a crazy month that you've had, there's the flow on effect from that anyway, right? Like
Yeah, always.
always feel that punch. So as long as you are, I suppose I would say, disciplined in making sure that, okay, there's not deals coming through, then what are you doing to help the deals come through, right?
Yeah, 100%. It has shifted my focus onto that, spending more time on the follow up rather than being transactional, which I pride myself on not being. But spending a little bit more time to be more thoughtful on my responses, or spend a little more time on the phone, answer a few more questions, that sort of thing. I've actually found that's made me a bit happier, because I don't feel rushed. I have been able to slow down, and I have spent a majority of this month focusing on teams and development, and even doing something like this. And I enjoy doing all of this. I enjoy doing this when I'm having a busy month.
Yeah.
But I am. I mean, Kiki, who sits beside me, she's a constant reminder that you need to take the peaks with the troughs. And I think I've been very lucky that over my last 4 years, most months have been pretty consistent.
I love that.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I've never seen a month like I had last month. So I'm, as I said, stepping into holidays. So this is a nice little reset for my brain to be able to actually switch off when I'm on holidays.
Yeah.
So yeah, understanding that those can happen is fine. Our general manager the other day is like, no one's going to look at you for one bad month.
That's
And
right.
then,
No.
yeah.
And you look at it like I always looked at my year, right? Like I had a yearly goal because I knew that some months were gonna plateau,
Yeah.
right? So as long as you've still got that yearly goal in mind, you just know that you've got to make up for it with the next 3 months, right? Like that's how I
Yeah.
looked at it.
Yeah.
What was your best month, Sophie?
It was 55 last month.
Wow, so great. And in Geelong, like that is just amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
it was big.
Well done. That is huge. Very, very well done.
A
So,
lot of renovations happening at the same time, so that always slows you down a bit. So
but no, that's really great. I would love to give some listeners some wisdom. So, from your experience over the last 20 years in real estate, now being in the BDM role, having such great success, not just over the last 4 years, but before that, because that's obviously led you to your success. What are some lessons that you have learnt that you would love to help another BDM essentially avoid that lesson if they can?
yeah, I harp on about this often, but never take rejection to heart. I think if you've been in the BDM role for more than 12 months, rejection is just part of life now. But it can be a really hard thing to wrap your head around initially. And look, some days I crack the shits, and I've worked really hard on a client, and I might lose them, and then it'll sit with me for an hour or two. But I never take it home. I never let it define my day. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing about working with a good team as well. Like you just kind of move past it pretty quick. So that's a really important one. I'm still learning a hell of a lot of lessons. So learning my balance, I consistently struggle with. And I struggle with that with my little one and with me. So I don't believe that work-life balance is really a thing when you want to achieve certain results. Like I honestly don't. I think if you're driven to achieve results and you are career driven, then work-life balance isn't really a thing.
Yeah.
You can find those moments of balance, and that's awesome. But I just don't think you have your switch on at 9, switch off at 5. You just don't. Not if you're going to write records.
Yeah.
So understanding that there will be some sacrifices there is important if you want to achieve that. If you want to coast along day to day and just do what you can and that makes you fulfilled, fantastic. That's not me. But everybody's different.
Yeah.
Understanding your strengths and weaknesses with managing a team. Something I'm still learning every day. Like I have my off days. Absolutely. I try and be as jovial as I possibly can, because laughter just makes me happy. But sometimes I'm just sad. Sometimes I've just had a bad day. Finding people that can understand that and bounce back from that. Like, if you might be snarky one day and say something and then you can move past it without it eating you alive, that's really special.
Yeah.
find that having the two I see, the next person beside you, the next person you bring on, that culture fit is so much more important than that skill fit. Like Kiki joined me in January this year. She hadn't had experience in BDM, but she worked in the same department as Jay, so she had a bit of an idea of what the structure looked like, but hadn't necessarily been on the tools of BDM.
Yeah.
And then she came in and obviously she picked everything up really well. And I'm profound, not a fantastic trainer. Like, I'm learn as you go, do as I do, not as I do as I say, not as I do sort of person. But she's picked that up really well. But the fact that she helps my mental health every day, that has been like, don't tell her this, but I'd pay her double. Like, she's just like, she like about to head off on maternity leave, and I'm lost. That's probably why I'm having my down days at the moment. I'm already mourning her and she's not gone. But I'm so blessed to feel that way.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned before, my previous assistant before that, she's gone on to manage a department here at Buxton, and I still get to see her every day. So they don't have to sit beside you, but you need to have that person, and learning the right person too. I think once you're in a bit of a leadership role, and business development is a leadership role because you run your own race.
Sure.
You can be human and you can vent and you can, have your down days, but find the right person to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sophie, I think really great key points there for lessons. I really agree with everything that you said. I think I just did a post yesterday, and it was, every no is leading you to the right yes. And I'm a strong believer in that. And I got no's lots of times, but it didn't, I didn't let that define my worth, and it didn't stop me from continuing to work towards my goal. Because if we let that no ruin our whole day, then that's also going to have an impact on those yeses that are out there waiting to happen. I love that you mentioned about the work-life balance. I look at it as just work-life integration. I can't remember where I saw someone talk about that, but I'm like, oh, I love that, because for me, it's like, I don't view as work and life are separate. Like, this is just my life and this is what I do. So if that means some nights I'm back on the computer at 8 o'clock because my son has gone to bed and I need to get stuff done, then I need to get stuff done. And when I'm with him, then I'm with him. And some days he might be next to me while I'm on the computer, and that's just fine. Like, we got to do what we got to do. So it's like not letting anyone else dictate what you need to do, because it's your life at the end of the day.
Yeah. And try not to beat yourself up about it too.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a mum out there and you've got a busy role and you are a business within a business, hand on heart, I am the worst person for beating myself up. And I've got a great support network around me that helps lift me out of that funk when I get there. But I still do it, and we need to stop doing that. Like, every single day, I reckon I'd challenge myself on something I'm doing as a mum or as an employee. I said the other day that I'm a really great employee and I'm a really great mum when I'm not mixing the two, because I get distracted by one or the other. And honestly, because work is dollar productive and that keeps a roof over my head, usually that takes precedent. But I'm learning more and more, and and it sounds silly, but I'm enjoying being a mum more and more as I've understood that better. Rather than the switch off 9 to 5. I can't look at my phone because it's past 5 o'clock and I need to be present. But she goes to bed at 7:30, so I'm allowed to prep myself for the next day, so I'm not stressed. So in the morning when I wake up and I've got my quality time with her, I'm not a raging bitch, like I'm just. And I feel like a lot of. And I don't mean it to be sexist at all, but I feel like a lot of women beat themselves up in this industry because it is a sales role is predominantly men. I wish we'd stop doing that, and I wish we'd support each other more and everyone, not just women, but men and women side by side. So
it's definitely a thing that, oh my God, this could be another podcast episode that we do, Sophie, but because sales is quite a masculine role, but we've got a lot of BDMs are women. So the expectations of how women work in a sales role, directors, again, if you're listening, you can't have the same expectations like you would if you have a male BDM. We are wired differently, we work differently, we have a thing called hormones, and it fucks with us every single month, whether you realize it or not. And we work better depending on our cycles. And I think like that's something that we should understand as well with our team. It's like, girl, you got your time of your month, stay home, work from home. You know, like you're better at home working from home. Like that's the things that we have to embrace, and not being shameful to talk about that or speaking up about it. I used to speak to my directors about it. I'm like, I've just got my monthlies and I'm better. I just need to stay home. I'm not feeling the best. I'm still going to do my work. Things will still get done. And they're like, that's fine, you know, because at the end of the day, you got to nurture yourself so that you turn up to work the best way possible as well.
Mm.
Right.
But as a leader too, I think we're really quick to say to our team, if you're not feeling right today, spend the day from home. But we never do that for ourselves.
Mm.
That's where I struggle. Excuse me. But yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. You just need to do what's right for you in that moment.
Sure. Well, Sophie, I would love to get you on again maybe in 6 months' time, because there's going to be some more changes that are occurring for you. And I would love to, you know, dig deeper into some more things we spoke about today, and, you know, see how you're transitioning once, unfortunately, you lose your current assistant and what happens there. But I just wanted to say, you know, thank you so much for giving up your time to help our community. I think we've got a long way to go to for BDMs to, you know, come together. But I would love for any BDMs to reach out to Sophie and, you know, just say hi or tell her something that you loved from this podcast. Or if you're a mum and something resonated, like, please, I think we need to do that more. I will share Sophie's details in the podcast so that you can reach out to her. But I wanted to say again, Sophie, a massive congratulations for all you do,
Thank you.
doing the juggle, doing the leadership, you know, being a mum, being a partner, all of the things. And I can't wait to see what you achieve in the next 6 months.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having this platform for all of us as well. It's really nice. We haven't connected much until recently, and it's been really warming, and it's been really nice to see how you've, you know, run events like with Jay and all that you did in Melbourne. That was really awesome. You've done a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And more to come.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Have an amazing day, Sophie. And everyone that is listening, as always, keep rising.